Hi, welcome to Reimagine Compassion by Meet the Need. I am your host for this segment, Tanya Nichols, Member Services Director of Meet the Need. And we're here again to spotlight a Meet the Need member who is successfully showing compassion in their city. And we're going to discuss why and how they make that happen and where they're going to reimagine that compassion in new and innovative ways. And today we have with us Darren Washhausen from Orphan Care Alliance. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, we're glad to have you. Darren, you guys, Orphan Care Alliance is in Louisville, Kentucky, but you guys actually serve a broader geographic area than just Louisville, correct?
Correct. We are actually throughout Kentucky. And then there's, which is 120 counties, and then we're also working to serve 5 counties in southern Indiana, just across from Louisville, Kentucky. So that's our total
awesome.
Service range, if you will. 125 counties is kind of how we look at it.
A broad range, yeah. And so, what are the issues in your community, and how does Orphan Care Alliance help to alleviate some of those issues?
Well, at the largest, the reason for what we do, I mean, the largest need is obviously we're very focused on, orphan care in general, and we do a couple peripheral things with international care, but the most of our focus is on the domestic needs of children that, orphan care in the United States looks like child welfare. So our focus is, in working with child welfare throughout the state of Kentucky and then those 5 counties in southern Indiana. And, so that's where we work to zero in, and we offer a variety of services that augment what the state's already doing, I guess that you would say, in 3 specific areas. One of them is in family preservation, which is sort of where child welfare is trying to move to in the United States. And then the next one is in family support. So all the families who choose to be foster and adoptive parents in this region, we work to serve them with just various tools to help them stay in the process of what they're doing in foster care, or to better equip them to be adoptive parents, and just walking with them throughout their life of raising children that have come from a lot of times trauma. And then the third thing that we do is for those children that become 18 or 21 years old and they don't really have a network of family support or positive role models, we try to life coach and walk with those youth to try and help enable them. So those are the things that we do in the big sense of things. Gateway becomes a part of serving that community that I just described with goods and services, and we are working really hard to make Gateway that thing that people can go to and be a part of this child welfare effort that we are in.
And Gateway is the name of the entryway that you guys have, the platform for serving those families, correct?
Right. Yeah, the system we market it as OCA Gateway, and we obviously have worked with you to tailor Meet the Need to best assist us in that. And we called it Gateway because there's kind of a statement we make a lot that says everyone can do something, and we believe that OCA Gateway is the gateway for somebody to kind of step into helping us with child welfare and orphan care here in Kentucky.
And so how do you guys, how does the platform work? I mean, not that we need to get into the mechanics, but kind of how does your process flow work? Do you work directly with social workers? Do you work directly with families? How do you make those connections happen?
What we do right now is we work directly with social workers, We are also working, so social workers for us is two places, the state social workers, but then there's also contracted private care agencies. We work with the workers in those agencies. And then the third place is that as a preventative measure, we're also working with the resource counselors in the school system, so that if they're identifying early on, potential needs of families, that we're trying to serve those families so that those children never have to face foster care if possible. So those are the three main places that we work directly with, all in the effort to serve families that are found to be vulnerable in any of those places.
So you've got multiple venues and audiences and users that you're connecting with to find the needs that are meeting directly with children and families.
Right.
And you guys truly are, like the name of it is, the gateway, so that volunteers. Now, where do the volunteers? How are those needs getting met? Who are meeting those?
Well, we've we actually have set this system up that we can collectively go into the church and talk to them about the system. And so then a lot of times we have the opportunity to sign up people, between services, that kind of thing right after. Then the next thing that we can do is we've networked with a lot of the other organizations that are willing to work with us, and maybe there's food pantries or clothing closets and places like that that we're connecting with, so that they have the opportunity as volunteers to be able to support some of those needs. And then overall we are working more towards just the community at large, to become volunteers. And we don't really have the way we've set our system up, we don't really have administrators that have to be there around like the church leadership or something. We really have it set up to where volunteers are connected directly to social workers to kind of make that process of getting a need met very efficient, and it doesn't require a lot of administration between the volunteer and the worker that needs the item for a family.
Yeah, and that very much fits the Meet the Need model, is,
Yes.
not eliminating, but making it more efficient in the connections, and a lot of times eliminating a bottleneck that's happened through churches, through organizations, and really making those direct contacts. So you guys definitely have a great model.
I'm sorry, but even within the child welfare system, there's so much case overload for them that anything we can do to make their need be efficiently met and communicated back to them, as opposed to having to go through a group of people inside child welfare to get the need met, is a better thing, because they just need efficient answers and support because of all of the work that they have in front of them right now. So it's very challenging, and this makes it very efficient for them too.
Right. No, it's a great model, I know, and we've worked with you guys to duplicate that model over multiple states. So it's really been a great best practice example to share with other foster agencies, or really any organization that's working to serve families in any capacity. It's a great process. Darren, briefly explain to us a little bit about how you guys maintain dignity and give hope to the families that you serve. I mean, we're talking about, process flows and management and platform and, connections, but I mean, there's families involved in all of this, and how do you maintain that throughout your process?
Well, I think the first thing is that most of our staff and a lot of our, what I would call our major volunteers, have experience in and around foster care or adoption. And, as a part of being in that community, you sort of learn firsthand about the challenges of fostering and adoption and orphan care in general. And on top of that, we've become competent trainers of trauma and ways that there are to parent kids differently who've been from a background of trauma. So you know, when we and also we've come to realize that a lot of these young parents that are trying to raise children and are struggling have often been brought up in homes that are broken, or that they themselves have received substantial trauma as a child. And so, you know, they're only doing what they know. And I think that our understanding of that generational cycle, and then on top of it, the fact that many of these parents are ill-equipped. I think that, you know, we start with an extremely compassionate heart. I think that some of the techniques that we train and teach our volunteers in trauma, you know, certainly maintain a level of dignity and respect for those that we're serving. They don't feel judged, and they don't feel taken advantage of in any way by the people that we are having work with them. And ultimately, you know, we're just moving with them in their lives, trying to help them make good choices, overcoming obstacles, and being the light of Christ in their lives. That's what we're trying to do. And, you know, we also know that, you know, one of the things that I like to quote Dr. David Cross on is that, you know, he always says that, you know, people who have been hurt in relationship can really only be repaired through relationships, and so are restored through relationships. So we believe that the secret sauce of our entire ministry is really about relationship is number one for us. You know, over a lot of other things, relationship is number one, because we believe that's what can restore these people who've been hurt somewhere in their lives.
Yeah, and really having a process that's happening behind the scenes that you can kind of set it and forget it for a while, you know, so that you can focus on those relationships.
Yeah.
And even giving, you know, the church tools to do the same thing,
Right.
and your social workers tools to do the same thing. And it all comes down to training and understanding and really a compassionate heart. And you guys do a great job of that.
And I think the other thing that I would tell you is that, you know, a lot of the church just kind of has this, they have their own perceptions about, you know, this world and what it is and what it isn't. And there are plenty of news stories to talk about, you know, some bad things that can happen through foster care, foster kids, and what have you. And so, you know, they tend to keep arm's length. And I think that when they start with, you know, providing a service or providing a need, and they get to know just one child or just one family, a lot of those things that they perceive go away, and they become invested in that relationship. And that's always what we're hoping with our gateway system. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a quick example of a family that you've been able to give support to that you've seen a positive result out of? Something, you know, anonymously that you could share?
Yeah, we do. I mean, this is not all cases, but it's one that's happened here in the past month that's been more recent. But we had a kinship situation for those who don't maybe understand what that is. A kinship situation is, in this case, a grandmother, a relative, who's choosing to bring in 3 grandchildren as opposed to letting them go into foster care. But grandma was on a fixed income, and she was on a fixed income, and there was some expense involved with bringing the children into her home. And her caseworker put a need in the system that said basically grandma was not going to be able to make month's rent because of some of the extra expenses on her fixed income that were involved in bringing the children into her home. And so it was put out in the system to, could somebody help with 1 month's rent? The 1 month rent request for help ended up a volunteer paying 3 months rent. And then discovering that the children, discovering that the children who are currently on the non-traditional instruction at schools, that they were all trying to learn at home on one laptop. So 2 more laptops were provided to the other 2 children. And then it kind of ended in a day of clothes shopping, at a store, all from that volunteer just getting connected to know that one family. So
Wow.
those kind of things are always amazing to us when that, when
Yeah.
it starts with this little nugget.
That's a generous giver for sure. Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah,
was definitely a
absolutely.
blessing for that family
Yeah.
in many ways. And many times it's not one person that can help to provide all that's needed. That case is a special circumstance, but
Mhm.
usually it takes many people coming in to support a family, and really provide what they need, and even more beyond the physical items, but even provide what they need emotionally,
Yeah.
and just relationally. Yeah,
And we've got a need
that's
active
great.
right now that's, about a house that needs electrical help, and there's no heat in the house at the moment. And so, and there's an electrician and multiple people willing to pay for some of the materials, that the electrician needs to fix the home, that's in process right now, so that need is
Mhm.
out there, and we're, very optimistic that through the system we will be able to fix and repair this need so that children don't have to be brought out of that home,
Yeah.
because of the lack of being able to keep them safe and warm. So
What is like the most typical need, or the most often items or services that you guys post? What is your typically what are your needs that are going through the platform?
I would say overall, it a lot of times tends to be clothing, but even more often than that, usually it's beds of some sort,
Mhm.
whether it's a pack and
Yeah,
play, a baby bed, or a twin bed, just
right.
because more children are
Because they're
coming into
emergency
a home.
situations. Yeah.
Yeah, there's either more children coming into a home, or somebody who has small children is now bringing in a child that needs a baby bed and they don't have one, or it could be that a mom is sleeping with a baby, which is usually a big no-no, and they just even try to find a pack and play so that baby and mom are separated for sleep, kind of thing. So
Mhm.
even just to get things started, that's, one of the quick ways of trying to help a family stay together as opposed to being a child having to be brought into foster care. So
Yeah. How have things changed recently with COVID guidelines and making connections and getting items to families? How have you guys had to change things during this crazy time?
well, getting items to families hasn't been too much of an issue, but I think what I've seen the change being is that um, providing these needs, like as the social worker, as the person who's overseeing the family, it's become more difficult for them to find what they need and be able to
Mhm.
work through that well. And I think
Mhm.
um, what I think is happening from our side of it is that the organizations are becoming more dependent on each other to kind of team up and provide for needs. And so because that's happening, it's almost like our gateway system is getting more attention and more use because it
Mhm.
is a very efficient way to kind of figure out where needs are at. And for families
Yeah.
who are not now, normally going to a shelter or going to a place to serve anymore because they're at home, they're to be able to see these needs from their home instead of
Mhm.
having to go somewhere. So it's a way to reach
Yeah.
potential volunteers in their homes versus, a physical place where people would gather around these things.
Yeah. It's a true centralized place, but yet at the same time decentralized, because it's a tool that you give to the social workers to post needs. It's a but yet it's centralized in how the needs are shared, and where people can find them.
Right,
So that's great.
right,
So,
exactly.
well, speaking of, the platform, we've talked about it,
Mhm.
quite referred to it quite a bit as have been talking, but, Meet the Need in general has 5 modules. We have our volunteer and goods management module, events, international missions, shared case management, and the newer module, Love Your Neighbor. You guys at OCA primarily use the volunteer goods management module, that first one, but
Right.
we did quite a bit of customizations for you guys.
Right.
To allow the social workers to register and for you guys to approve them, for you to be able to, or for the social workers to be able to post needs with unique classifications that you guys have in there. OCA gets aggregate reporting of all the churches that have registered, all the volunteer activity, all the social workers that have registered, and you've got it segmented. We customized it for you to segment by regions or the teams in our platform so that you can assign volunteers to different teams. So as needs are posted, they get the right notifications. And we customize those automated emails for you. And I've noticed recently too, Darren, you guys have started using the posting offers feature.
Yes.
I think I saw an email come across last week where you were posting an offer for the social workers to be able to see offers that volunteers may have, or that you guys may come across as OCA that you want to get out to the social workers. Maybe you got an offer, maybe someone has a crock pot they're wanting to donate, or a bed, or whatever it may be.
Right.
You guys can let the social workers know real quickly in their region that an offer is available.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, we like the offer side because one of the things that I think we were seeing was a lot of times when somebody has something available, there may not necessarily be that need in the system. And, rather than somebody, loading something up and taking it to Goodwill or another organization that, posting it from their home for a few weeks would be a great way to make sure it's getting to a family in need. And so, now it's kind of being pushed to the social workers and the caseworkers to where things that maybe they wouldn't have normally asked for become available. I ran into a lady who's like, I've had this crock pot on my kitchen counter for ages and I don't really even want it anymore. Are you saying I could just put it in the system and a worker could know that's available for a family? And I said, absolutely, that would be a perfect example. Just it would be very easy for her, and she would be assured it's going somewhere that needs it.
That's awesome. Yeah, our volunteer management module, whether you have customizations to it or not, is a very easy module to go in and post needs for, and then show those needs on your website, on OCA's or whatever organization, looking like your website. I know that as things change, we were just talking earlier today, about how you might be changing your header, and we're there to make accommodations like that. And it's all about private labeling and making sure that the organizations that are on the ground in that city are the ones that are being connected and the ones that are managing what's happening. Meet the Need, we're in Tampa, Florida. We're not in Kentucky. We're not there to help the families on the ground. And we're so grateful that you are, but we're able to be a part of that, behind the scenes through the technology and the software. So thank you for all that you do to take care of these families and make those connections. And I just think it's a beautiful model that you guys have, because you're working with the government, you're working with social workers, with the county, with the state, and you're working with schools as well, and you're working with churches and volunteers both inside and outside of churches, and families that are hurting, that are connected and aren't connected. And it really is that whole separation of church and state. You guys have kind of wiped that notion off the board. It's not one or the other. It's really all together, and it has to be all together, because what's the model that's in a lot of states right now isn't working. And you guys really are on the cutting edge of making that, really bringing all those entities together to wrap around the family.
Yeah, I think we fully recognize that, there's no one sector, if you will, of those people that you mentioned, or no one organization that's going to be able to solve this. So if we don't, kind of collect up and be stronger together, it seems insurmountable. But I think we know our role, we know where we add value and where we don't. And we believe this is, definitely one of those places we add a lot of value. And so we're excited about it. And I know we've mentioned it just, a little bit on the family preservation, that we currently use the one module, but I I do think that we're going to get into the shared case management one very soon, because we have been given a go-ahead with the state to work on a pilot here in the Louisville area that they say is very much needed. And I think it will be largely successful with the use of the shared case management platform as well. So we're excited to move into that. And then I don't know if we were gonna talk about like kind of what you have coming out in 2021, but that feathers in as well to all of this.
Yeah, that's where I was going next. Yeah,
Okay,
we're looking forward to you guys taking into that. And what you're referring to is our family support platform, that we're sharing that under the umbrella of Reimagine Compassion, because really it is about reimagining how we care for others. And it's taking not tossing the model out that you guys have right now, or that we have right now, but really adding to it, and extending it, but doing more than just providing a handout, or more than just providing for needs, but really looking at a bottom-up model, from the family being the center of that model, instead of not just the organizations being the center, which is what our current platform provides, is ways that the administrators of the organizations can manage what's happening. The new platform will be a way for the families to be able to be empowered to build circles of support around themselves that include their family and their friends, their churches, or a church that they might find that they're not a part of, local service providers, resources, and really use cutting edge technology with artificial intelligence to recommend those resources, to recommend those providers to them that they may not even realize that they may need. And more importantly than all of that, to incorporate in discipleship, and spiritual growth throughout the platform for those families, so that there truly is a Christ-centered solution that's being offered through many different needs. There's mapping for the providers. There's kind of a Pinterest look, or an Instagram look for looking for resources. And there's even a homepage for the family that they can share with their connections. But the family is in control of who they connect with and how they connect and what they access. And it's really going to be an empowering platform. And you were kind of leading into how you guys are going to use that. And so how do you foresee that playing out at OCA?
So I think what's going to happen, and it's just funny how Meet the Need has sort of started inventing something before I knew I needed it, kind of a thing in this case. But as we've continued to move forward, I've just been able to see the place that this fits so well. And this pilot that we're doing, just to give you a backdrop of the family stereotype, I guess if I can say it that way, this would be a family that maybe a CPS call, a child welfare services call, was placed on out of concern for the child's safety, whether that be physical or neglect or whatever that might have occurred. But when the social worker goes to make a visit to that home, they don't find reasonable cause to bring the children into care. However, at the same time, they have a concern that if the situation is left unreviewed for another 60 or 90 days, that they could very well be back at that same house bringing children into care. So, there's 10,000 kids in care here in Kentucky, so there's a lot to do, right? And so what the state wants to consider with us is that their social worker hands off, with the family's consent, hands off the name and refers that family to us, where we can assign a volunteer to go in and kind of just help be a coach and maybe a mentor to the parents of that family, and to maybe we would get a set of maybe these are my 3 concerns as a social worker of why I'm giving this family over to you, and whether that be some needs or help with job applications or whatever that looks like, our volunteer would be the one that would go in and help. Well, as a part of that, our volunteer's job would be getting that family connected to, the church around the corner, maybe the food bank, a few blocks away, or whatever that looks like. But to your point, not only getting them connected to those resources, but be able to hand them this new tool that we can connect them, but then also empower them for the long haul of being connected to their community through this new Meet the Need tool. So it puts them at the center. We would, help them to kind of get oriented to it in their community, and allow them to have this tool that they can refer to hopefully sustain themselves and their families without the need for the state to come in and intervene with removing children from a home. So that's where, both collaboratively OCA and the state of Kentucky are going to try and work here in the next year.
Darren, are you there? We can hear you now, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you miss how much of that?
We just missed a little bit of that when you were talking about how that they can the volunteer can leave with the family a sense of a way that they are empowered to connect.
Right. I mean, because we want them to be sustainable in their own communities. We don't want to be, if you will, importing resources to their area of town only to have that be something temporary. We want to empower them to be equipped and connected right in their own community, especially if transportation's an issue and they don't have the ability to go very far from their home. We want to be able to get them connected. So our person can kind of clear the path for them to be able to get those initial connections and then provide the tool for Meet the Need for the sustaining ongoing connections.
That's great. Yeah. And all the while, this is all, private label for you guys. So they're not connecting necessarily with Meet the Need. They're connecting with Orphan Care Alliance or through their social worker or however it is that you guys decide to private label that. So yeah, it definitely keeps it all local and feels like a local tool, which it is. I mean, all the resources are local, all the providers are local. It's all built around the cause group or you guys to be able to manage that. So, well, Darren, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to share with us about what you guys do and where you're going. If you're watching this, even in the future, and you want to find out more about Reimagine Compassion and where Meet the Need is going with the new platform, you can go. There's a great blog that was posted on November 24th, 2020 at meettheneed.org/blog that talks all about where we've been and where we're going and what that looks like. And you could also visit our Reimagine Compassion page at meettheneed.info/compassion. And then there's our contact information for Darren directly and for myself directly. If you would like to get in touch with us, find out more about foster care. Darren has been very gracious with his time and able and more than willing to share about the processes that they use and what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And why they've chosen what they've done. So he's made himself available in many ways. If you want to contact him directly related to foster care, or if you want to contact me related to systems and Meet the Need and what that looks like behind the scenes. But we're here to support you, and you will continue to have these segments to bring you more and more examples so that you can continue to reimagine compassion in your communities and meet the needs that are out there that God puts before us. Thank you, Darren, again. And we'll meet again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.